Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of football, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You are tuning in to Season 6, Episode 26 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, visit siouxsports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms where public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. A very happy hello to all of today's listeners on this episode of Full Time. We are delighted that you are with us. G, how goes it this evening, my friend?
Oh, can't complain too much. Doing all good on this side of the screen. How you doing, Scarps?
On this side of the screen, G, I am doing just the same. I'm happy to be here with you, and I am excited for our show here tonight. In today's show, we will discuss the Champions League and the FA Cup as we preview both competitions' quarterfinals. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kickoff. We get today's show started with the Champions League quarterfinals, which are imminent and upcoming. We will preview each match along with our predictions here and now. First, it will be the battle of the heavyweights, and that, of course, is Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Gee, you want to talk about box office type stuff on the footballing front? It's about as big as it gets. Break it down for us as to what happens in this tie and who comes out the victor.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, outside of the Arsenal tie, which I mean no offense for this when I say it, we got some heavyweights going at it in this round, but obviously the biggest is the Real Madrid Bayern Munich matchup. I'm really excited for this. I think in terms of the actual football being played, I think this is probably the highest level we're going to see of all of the quarterfinals. Just I think there's just far too much quality on the pitch and tactically to kind of not be the best matchup that we get. I do think Bayern Munich are going to win, though. I don't think it'll be comfortable. They're not going to destroy them like they did with Atalanta. But I do think it could be by a couple goals. I think I don't want to call Real Madrid soft when I say this, but I just think the way Bayern Munich have been playing domestically and in Europe, they've just been ruthless. Nobody's even come close to really putting a dent in them, and I just think there's a bit of ego and maybe a little bit of with the coaching change, just that disorganization at Real Madrid right now. And I just think that Bayern Munich are just going to steamroll, kind of just keep going. Not they're going to steamroll Real Madrid. I should word that better. But they're just going to keep rolling. They're not worried about anything right now, just kind of game after game. And I think that focus and that intensity that Vincent Kompany's brought to them is just going to see them through here. I think it'll be probably by 2 or 3 goals, but I do think Bayern Munich are going to win.
It's interesting because in my heart of hearts, I probably think that Bayern Munich's going to win, but I kind of did some revisionist history and some reflection. Every time that I go against Real Madrid, they always win. So I am going to take Real Madrid purely based on their pedigree in this competition, and because if I look down the years that we've done all these predictions, it hasn't been so favorable when I've bet against them. So, I am taking Real Madrid. Next, it will be Sporting up against Arsenal. Only one team is booking their spot in the semifinal of this competition. Who does the business, and how do you foresee the winner achieving it?
Well, I was going to keep it pretty short and sweet, and I was going to say Sporting just because I wasn't going to pick Arsenal. and and knowing how we typically pick, I figured the other 3 were going to be the same. So I'm like, at least we'll be different on one. But I do think Sporting are going to win. I think It's going to be tight. They've shown a lot of resilience in this competition. The comeback against Bodo Glimt in the last round. And they're just a very good quality team. Obviously, they're not quite a European heavyweight, but I think they're a very good team. I think Arsenal's got some injuries now. Eze's, I don't know if he's going to be healthy for this or not. You could probably
Probably
speak
not.
more to that. So I think that's a big loss for them. He's been a creative spark for them and has been just kind of running their attack for the most part. And we saw in the Carabao Cup final how he's kind of toothless, really, Arsenal were without him. Obviously, they have some time to adjust and make some changes, maybe tactically or in terms of personnel for the matchup. But yeah, I just think Sporting CP are going to win this one.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm a little bit different to you. Not this is irrespective of the picks, obviously, because you have always said down the years, and I give you a lot of credit for it. It doesn't matter who Manchester City play, where they play, when they play, that you'll never bet against them. I'm a little bit different. I would bet against Arsenal, and actually one time on our show, and this is going back like years ago, I did bet against Arsenal on one occasion, but I only say that to kind of suggest that in the future, if that were to happen, I wouldn't have a problem betting against them. And given the way that things went in that Carabao Cup final, I am very nervous. I think because this game is two legs, I do believe Arsenal's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be go away to Sporting first leg, park the bus, come away with a 0-0, and then Arsenal's just going to scrape it in the second leg, winning by a 1-goal margin. So by the very, very narrowest of margins and ways, I am going to take my Arsenal. And again, very concerned for what's happening moving forward, but I have to stay with the belief. A Spanish clash for the ages. We'll see Barcelona take on Atletico Madrid in the next round of the Cup. Local storylines all over the place in Spain, but who will write the biggest storyline, that being the one of victory after two legs?
So this one's probably it's at the same time the easiest and hardest to predict. They've already played each other three times in domestic competition, both their league and in the Copa del Rey, and then also their next domestic fixture is also against each other. So they've seen a lot of each other already this season. They're going to see each other a few times more. Barcelona won their La Liga matchup earlier in the season 3-1. Then the Copa del Rey, the first leg, Atletico Madrid won 4-0, and on the return leg, Barcelona won 3-0. So it's been relatively even so far from what we've seen. I don't think that has too much impact either way, but we've seen that it's not one-sided this season, at least. This is probably the toughest one for me to pick because I can see both sides going through. They both have very valid reasons to go through. They're both really good teams on the up. But I'm going to lean towards Atletico Madrid just based on the firepower they have up front. I think Julian Alvarez has been had a wonderful season for them already. He's won the Champions League, has already got a bunch of Champions League goals, and he's just built for big moments. I think, against Barcelona in the Champions League, really no bigger moment for him. I think he's going to have a fantastic tie, and I think he's going to fire them past. It's not going to be close. I think it'll be, a goal or two difference, but I'm going to take Atletico Madrid.
Fair enough. And I'm going to go the other way on it. So we haven't agreed on anything yet, which is very rare for us. But I am taking Barcelona, not even so much for the clash of Barcelona and Atletico. Looking at this from an Arsenal perspective, we need to continue to right the wrongs. We beat Bayern in this competition, which we got absolutely destroyed by them down the years in the Arsene Wenger era. We're going to match up against Sporting, which we've had a difficult time if we go back to the Europa League a number of years ago. Now we need to play Barcelona in that next round because we have to right the wrongs of the past there as well. So I need Barcelona to win. I need Arsenal to win. I need them to match up. I need Arsenal to win that. So I am gladly taking Barcelona. And we talk about this whole thing in football all the time. Oh, you want to avoid this one. You want to get on this side of the draw. Listen, you know it better than most. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Then you got to get rid of the heavy hitters. So if we come up against Barcelona, we got to take that one and we got to go for it. So, Gitano, I think Barcelona will win, and I want to see them versus Arsenal in the next round. And PSG will take on Liverpool in this round of the competition to see who will book their place in the semis. A lot of pedigree in this competition, but for you, who wins and why?
I don't want to say that it's going to be easy by any stretch, but I think PSG will win this comfortably. Just far too much quality in attack, in midfield, in defense. Tactically, they've been fantastic in Europe so far. We've seen them kind of be a little flexible, trying different things. And you can see Liverpool is not in a great spot right now. Mo Salah has just announced that he's leaving at the end of the season. The club's just kind of in a weird spot. You spent almost £500 million in the transfer window, and you know, you lost in the Carabao Cup. You're not going to win the Premier League. They're just not in a great spot. And I don't think that playing PSG, which is I think undoubtedly the best team in European football right now, I don't think that's going to help them in the slightest. So yeah, it's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be 10-0 or anything crazy, but it should be pretty comfortable for PSG.
Wouldn't it be some story though if Liverpool were to win it and then all of the shouts, Salah, will you stay? And, the singing his name and everything else, that would be something. I don't think that's going to happen. So we are going to end on an agreement. So I'm also going to take, PSG. But if Liverpool were to win, yeah, it'd be an upset technically because PSG have been playing really, really well, obviously. But I don't think that it would totally and utterly shock me. So, Gitano, to review these picks in the Champions League to qualify for the semifinals, you're going to go with Bayern, Sporting, Atletico, and PSG. I'm going to go with Real Madrid, Arsenal, Barcelona, and PSG. Either way you look at it, that would be some fantastic semifinal matchups. That would be unbelievable. So, a reminder to our listeners that the Champions League quarterfinals will be played over 2 legs on April 7th and 8th for the first leg, and then April 14th and 15th for the second leg. In a future episode of Full Time, we'll recap the outcomes for you all. A near carbon copy for the FA Cup here and now, as the quarterfinals are ready to go just the same, and we are here to preview and predict for everyone. The best matchup of the lot is what we will discuss first, and that, of course, is Manchester City up against Liverpool. High stakes in this one, and this is set to entertain every footballing fan, especially if their Premier League clash earlier this season provided us with a snapshot of what's to come. Game at the Etihad, blue versus red. Break it down for us.
I think you actually kind of gave away the biggest thing I'm going to say. And the game's at the Etihad, which is huge for City. With Liverpool, basically had their domestic seasons done. They're not going to win. They might not even qualify for Europe. They're definitely not winning the Premier League. They've got a really tough test in PSG in the Champions League, and then they have the FA Cup to play for. And so I think with Salah leaving, they're obviously going to throw all of their eggs into these cup competitions. Obviously, they're going to still try and qualify for Europe domestically. Don't get me wrong, but I think they want to win some silverware to see him kind of go out on a high. So I don't think they're going to. And not that I would expect them to kind of take it easy or rotate. I think they're going to play their strongest 11. City are going to have to play our strongest 11. There's no doubt about that. What we've seen already this season from City and Liverpool is, like you said, Premier League classics. That match at Anfield, I want to say it was about a month and a half ago, was one of my favorite matches I've ever watched in any sport. That was just, top tier. And I expect the same. I think it's going to be close. I think there's probably going to be a red card or two. The emotions will always run high in City Liverpool. But I do think City are going to win it. I just think there's just a little more quality. City's just been rolling the last little bit. Rodri's back to full fitness. Erling Haaland is expected to be back at full fitness. I think it's just, City to take it. Not going to be close, not going to be comfortable. I don't think I'm going to enjoy watching the game while it's on. Like with most City games, it's not enjoyable while it's on. It's really stressful. But after the game, I think it's going to be, a big City win.
So, Gitano, we talked about it on our last episode, how I was fearful of what's going to happen with the run-in in the Premier League. I think what's going to happen here, because Liverpool do not have to go out this season in a blaze of glory. In fact, they're actually owed nothing because last season they did the business. They were the best team in England, and that's that. And you can have an off season as they've been having. So I'm not suggesting that Liverpool have to win something, but I think that for Arne Slot, obviously the injury to Isak this season, Mo Salah leaving at the end of the season, probably going to lose guys like Andy Robertson, Virgil van Dijk coming towards the end. I think something has to give. They need to make a run for something to give their fans something to believe in going into next season. So I think this is kind of a two-folded answer. I do think Liverpool is going to win. I think it's going to be scary for Arsenal because City's going to put all of their eggs in the Premier League basket, and it's going to go right to the final match day. So I am taking Liverpool. Chelsea will take League One side Port Vale on to see who gets into the semifinals of this prestigious competition. G, is there an upset on the cards, or do Chelsea run it?
I mean, I really think it depends which Chelsea side shows up. We've seen, 4 or 5 different faces of Chelsea this season, where they're competing with the best of the best and getting big results, where they're, almost there, pushed Arsenal to the brink in the Carabao Cup semifinals, and then we've seen them just get absolutely dummied. So I think the easiest thing for me to do as someone predicting this is say that Port Vale is going to win. At least we know what Port Vale are as an entity, as a team. We kind of know how they're going to play, know what they're going to look like. It might not work and they might lose, but we at least have the certainty of knowing what we're going to get from them. With Chelsea, it could be anything. They could field 6 different 11s. They could field the youth kids. They're a mess. They're an absolute mess. I do think Port Vale is going to win because I think that just that all that uncertainty around Chelsea and just they signed their manager to a 6.5-year deal, and they're already considering sacking him. Like, we don't know which of their 10 11s are going to play. I think Port Vale are going to sneak it. I don't think it's going to be pretty similar to the Wrexham game where it gets really really close. Except this time, I think there's VAR in the quarterfinals now, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So I think with the VAR, because VAR.
Well, there has to be because they had it last round. So yes, surely.
Oh yeah, perfect, yeah. But I think it's gonna be something late, something a little funky. But I think Port Vale are gonna pull it off.
So I'll be rooting for Port Vale, but the reason that I have to go with Chelsea is because I'm not a hypocrite. I just made that argument for Liverpool that they need to make some sort of push for their season, for the manager, for the sake of the players, the ones leaving, the ones that they don't know that are coming back. Chelsea are in a very similar situation. They need to do something for Rosinia. They don't know what's happening with the club. To your point, they've got a million different players. They don't know who's coming, who's going. They need to make a push for their fans for something. So because I pick Liverpool, I can't go against that argument. I also have to take Chelsea here, but I do want to make it well known that I will be cheering for Port Vale. Championship side, Southampton play host to Arsenal in this next round of proceedings in the competition. G, who punches their ticket to a semi-final at Wembley?
So I think the biggest thing here is not that I'm picking Southampton. It's more I think this is the most optimal time for Arsenal to lose in the FA Cup. If they're going to lose in the FA Cup, this is the best time to do it. Because if they win this and go to the semifinals are at Wembley, correct?
Yeah.
For FA Cup, yeah. So that would be a second trip to Wembley where you're potentially going to face a City or a Liverpool, a Chelsea. And then if you lose there, now you've lost twice at Wembley this season. I think it just spirals there. Obviously, if you lose in the final, if you win the semifinal, go to the final and you lose that, obviously disastrous. I think this is kind of the optimal time for them to lose. I don't think it's going to be it won't affect their season too much. I was still pushing in the Champions League and for the Premier League. And I think it's just kind of a nice way to, and the FA Cup is one of the most prestigious and historic trophies in football, but I think it's this is kind of their last out to get kind of rid of a distraction and say, hey, you know what, we're just going to focus on the Premier League and the Champions League. And Southampton are a good side, 6th in the Championship. They've looked really good. Considering kind of how poor they have been, we've seen them in the Premier League previous seasons. They really seem to be kind of turning that around. They've been playing good football in the FA Cup as well. So yeah, I think this is, and this is probably Arteta's last chance to properly rotate the side throughout the season. So I think this is your chance to, give your maybe not all of your starting 11, but give 4, 5, 6 guys kind of that break. You lose, it's not the end of the world. The game's at Southampton too, so you don't have to deal with the Emirates crowd on your back. Kind of bow out gracefully and then focus on the rest of your competitions.
As much as it's difficult to hear that, I give credit where credit's due. You make some amazing points, and I agree with you. That being said, I can't look at it like that. I need the team to be pushing on all fronts, especially coming back from international break. A bunch of the guys bowed out of international duty to make sure that they're well rested for the run-in. And I think that this first game coming back from international duty, or from whatever break that you'd like to call it, if guys didn't go to international duty before the run-in, they need to hit the ground running, Arsenal, and I think this game is absolutely pivotal. It's absolutely vital, but I do think that Arsenal will make a mess of it. I have Arsenal winning on penalties. Gotta be honest, gotta be real. And it will be West Ham going up against Leeds to round out the quarters. G, betting man or not, who is your money on to win and why?
West Ham they've been terrible all season, struggling in the Premier League, barely fighting for relegation right now. Leeds have actually been quite good, I would say. Um, Obviously, maybe not the best team in England, but they've been all right. So for that reason, I think West Ham's going to win. I think they're going to luck their way into a semi final. Um, and no particular reason. I think it would just be very West Ham of them to, you know, the fans want the owners out. They want a new manager. They want all these signings. Everything's kind of going, doom and gloom, and then to make an FA Cup semifinal. I think that would be pretty poetic for them, and I also think those fans deserve it. They've been through a lot of tough times these last couple of seasons with West Ham's, outside of the one Conference League win. So yeah, I think the West Ham fans deserve it, and I think it makes no sense, which is why it makes perfect sense that having a terrible season, they'll make the FA Cup semifinals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a very strange way, it does make a lot of sense because, to your point, it doesn't make sense if you look at it logistically. But all of your points there are taken on board. Gitano, I am going the other way. I am going to take Leeds, and I am going to take Leeds just purely based on the fact that I think West Ham are going to have bigger fish to fry with relegation. Obviously, Leeds aren't safe. They're right in the mix of the relegation, but I've liked the look of Leeds in this competition a little bit better than West Ham. And we said previous in the last fixture when West Ham played against Brentford that they would rotate. They didn't, but I don't know how much West Ham can be putting into this with not having an eye on the relegation battle. I think Leeds can probably play a little bit more. So for that reason, I'm going to take Leeds. Gitano, first time in full-time history that we go with complete disagreements here. You've got City, you've got Port Vale, you've got Southampton, you've got West Ham. I've got Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Leeds. So either way, someone's going to be wrong somewhere, someone's going to be right somewhere else. So that is pretty cool for our odds and what have you. So nice to have that disagreement there, sir. I guess well done.
Yeah, I mean, it only took us like what 100 something episodes to completely disagree on something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
106 episodes later, we finally have only this show we've had one agreement amongst 8 different choices. So that's pretty remarkable, I suppose, on our part for those who've been tuning in down the years. So, just the same, a reminder to our listeners that the FA Cup quarterfinals will be played on Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. In our next episode of Full Time, we will recap these games for you all and we will preview the semifinals. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you are listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. To check out the Pizza Portal app, please do for a quicker, easier way to get your next on-ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure, of course, to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we get ready to close out today's show, we want to extend our thanks to all of you for being with us. Your support is much appreciated. G, a short one tonight, but top stuff as always, my friend.
Short, sweet, to the point, and I mean, I don't know, it's just because the episode was so short. That's why we were going to disagree on everything. We couldn't make it easy for ourselves and agree, but even with all the disagreements tonight, wonderful show, Scarps.
Yeah, pleasure to be with you, my brother. And even when we agree, the time spent with you means the world. So great stuff, man. Love it. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of April 6th, 2026. In that show, we will take a look at the FA Cup and we will play another fan favorite game of Agree to Disagree, where Gitano and I debate some hot topics in the world of football and matters specific to Manchester City and Arsenal. As always, we will keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suitoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.